All right, everyone. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, or wherever you are, whenever you're watching this. I hope you're doing good. My name's Spencer. I am producing a series of videos on the indicator plants for Forestry 201. So this video is just an introduction to the subsequent videos that I hope that you watch and enjoy coming up. So this is about indicator plants. So not these big trees here, but all this other guff underneath there. We're going to be talking a lot about that in the next series of videos. But first of all, what is an indicator plant? So basically, an indicator plant is just a plant that tells you something about the environment. And you can have a variety of indicator species that they can tell you about a variety of different things. For instance, Usnea, this isn't exactly a plant, it's a lichen, but it's an indicator of air quality. So Usnea grows wherever the air is really, really clean and doesn't grow as well where the air is polluted. So that's indicator plants generally, but indicator plants specifically, what we'll be talking about in this course are the plants that are used in the Beck system to tell you about the different soil moisture and nutrient regimes. So these are plants that grow in under very specific conditions of soil moisture and soil nutrients. And what are these plants specifically? They have the narrow edaphic amplitude, so they grow under very specific soil moisture and nutrients. That's what the word edaphic refers to soil. And then these plants tend to be really common. So these are plants that are found all over the place because it wouldn't be very useful to have an indicator plant that you only find in one little site and that you never see. These are plants that if you're going out walking in the woods, probably have a good chance of running into them. All right, so what should we be expecting from the next series of videos? So one video will equal one group of plants for the course. So these plants have been broken up into different groups based on similar characteristics. So often the plants will occur in similar places, or they'll look slightly similar, or they'll have certain similar botanical features. And how are we going to be doing this is we are going to be prioritizing basically just rough ID techniques over botanical rigor. So we're going to be talking about ways that you're going to be able to identify these plants quite easily in the field. And we're going to tend to not go into really botanical, technical terminology too much because, that can be really confusing to a lot of folks. Whereas if you just remember things like, oh, your red cedar has the stripy bark, then you remember things a lot like that a lot better than the, looking for the serrate leaf marchings and things like that. All right, and then, however, if you do know a little bit of botanical terminology, hopefully you're taking Forestry 200 at the same time as this course, or you've taken it before. That's going to stand you in good stead, and wherever terminology comes up, we'll talk about it, but we're not going to focus on that too much. This isn't a botany course. And then finally, we're going to focus on features distinguishing between the different plants in this course. So there's a lot more plants in British Columbia than just the ones that we're going to be talking about. And we're going to be really focusing on the ones that are just covered in this course because it's very hard. It's a much more difficult proposition to tell a species apart from every single plant in British Columbia versus the 67 plants that we're going to be talking about. However, some of the other resources that I'll refer you to will be able to help explain how to tell plants apart from ones that we don't cover in this course, and you'll be able to research plants that aren't covered in this course as well if you're interested. All right. So what resources are available to me other than these videos to learn more about the indicator plants? First of all, most importantly, you have Patrick Culbert's Coastal Indicator Plants of BC Coastal Indicator Plants of BC website. This site was developed specifically for this course. It is an indispensable resource. It is going to be your best friend. And I'm going to go there now, actually, just to show you what it is. So this is what it looks like. This here is your landing page, just talking a little bit about indicator plants in general, and gives you a few more sources that a lot of Patrick's information is based off of. And then here are the indicator plants themselves, and you go down, okay, let's have a look at lanky moss, for example. It gives you a really quick description on the outside here about soil moisture, soil nutrients, scientific name, common name, and family. And then you click on that, you can go down and it gives you a lot more detailed info. There's quite a lot of photos, and then there's also information about telling it apart from species that might look similar, and then a few key identifying features to look at when you're trying to identify this thing. So really, really important site. There's also these practice quizzes here. So when you are studying for your indicator plants exam or your quizzes, these are going to be your best friends. So you can select a whole bunch of different plants that you want to quiz yourself on. Select the difficulty. Exam style is my favorite, and then you can go ahead with that. So that is a very important site for you to know about. There is also the Plants of Coastal British Columbia book. That is this book right here in this little photo, Pojar and McKinnon. If you are serious about learning about plants in BC, this is kind of an indispensable guide. Even for folks that aren't taking forestry at UBC, this book just kind of pops up everywhere. And really, if you love spending time in the woods and you're serious about your plants in BC, this belongs on your bookshelf. My copy, I share with my girlfriend. It is incredibly dog-eared because we have given it so much use over the years. All right, there are also lots of helpful online resources. Two of my favorites are eFlora BC and the Burke Herbarium. eFlora BC is run out of the University of British Columbia. Burke Herbarium is run out of the University of Washington. There's lots of others out there, but whatever you look for, please make sure that it is run by a university or some other reputable organization, because there's lots of just random sites out there with random information, and you want to make sure that you are getting the goods. So check your sources carefully if you're going to be using other online resources. And finally, there's also the Illustrated Flora of BC. So this is the granddaddy source. This is the one that basically a lot of these other sources refer to. It is available online as well. It's like an 8-volume PDF thing, which is thousands of pages long. A little bit less wieldly to use, but I would strongly recommend checking it out anyway, and you can download the PDFs, and you can, it's a really great resource to refer to, and free online. So, booyah. All right. Finally, what can I do to study for this course? So we've already looked at Patrick's website. Make sure that you quiz yourself using that. Another technique that I love is creating dichotomous keys to tell between the different plants. So what is a dichotomous key? It's basically this big classification tool where you have a group of organisms and then you break them up into two at different junctures based on a feature, and you create this big tree. So here's an example. This is when I was researching mosses to develop that part of this course, I made a dichotomous key for myself to help learn the different mosses. And so you have a big group of mosses at the start, and then you break them into two groups at each feature. And what this does is it really focuses you on the differences between the different organisms there, and really kind of takes out a lot of the noise and really focuses you on the signal and the things that really differentiate them. All right. And then finally, go outside, please. So, this is a forestry course. Hopefully you want to spend some time in the forest. The best way to learn about all of these plants is to try and find them in the wild. And so if you're living on the UBC campus, go to Pacific Spirit Park. It is an amazing park. Go down the trail down to Wreck Beach or the trail down to Tower Beach. Get over to the North Shore and just see if you can get out into the woods and try and find as many of these plants as possible, because there's really no substitute for actually finding one of these plants in the field, for learning how to identify it. And take lots of photos as well. If you can take photos of the features that you use to identify a plant when you find it, then those will be useful. And you'll also probably want these photos for later projects and things that you're doing anyway. So please get outside. Good for your health, good for your studying. That is all. All right. So see you in the first group of plants, which are the ferns. Take care.